I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000.
So while Congress just passed a $900 billion COVID relief bill that includes $600 in direct payments, Donald Trump came out last night saying that, no, not good enough. I want to see $2,000 per person. Now, before I even get to Trump's comments on this, I'll show you a bit of his speech and also the response from Nancy Pelosi and others. I just got to remind you, give you context here. Back in May, the House passed, the Democratic House passed $3 trillion in their coronavirus heroes aid, which included stimulus checks of $1,200. And back then, President Trump called it dead on arrival. And Mitch McConnell said the bill was little more than an unrealistic wish list. So Democrats have been trying to actually get money to people. Now, of course, I've had a million complaints of Nancy Pelosi, especially, as this is somebody who is always capitulating to the right, always giving in to conservatives. But people like Bernie Sanders, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ro Khanna have been fighting for $2,000 in direct payments. And when it comes to, certain bills like Bernie's bill, he wanted to see $2,000 a month. Now, today or last night, Trump came out with this speech. It's 4 minutes. There's no way I'm playing 4 minutes. Don't worry. I know nobody at this point can listen to Trump for 4 minutes straight. But I'm going to play the part of the speech here where he discusses what he wants to see from this bill.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to just ignore the end of his comments there. I don't need to get back into Trump and trying to steal the election. That's a separate conversation. Let's focus on what he's calling for here. He is correct to call for $2,000 in direct payments. I mean, I would still want to see $2,000 a month retroactive. But yes, these stimulus checks or these direct payments that people need, they're not stimulus, people need this money. These direct payments should be larger. $2,000 a month would clearly be a lot better than $600. Now, the question is, though, why is Trump doing this now? Why wasn't he a part of the negotiations between Democrats and Republicans? So he's been solely focused on the election, what he calls the rigging of the election. Of course, there was no grand rigging, but that's been his focus for the past couple months. Now he comes out afterward, once this bill's passed, to say, no, not good enough. I want to see more money. Well, Chris Hayes raised this point, and I think he's correct here, and others have also raised this. He tweets out, Trump is pissed that McConnell acknowledged Biden's victory, and this is his revenge. The most stalwart opposition to $2,000 checks is McConnell's own caucus. This blows up McConnell's deal and screws Loeffler and Perdue, who've now been wrong-footed. So I'm going to get to more on Loeffler and Perdue in a second here. But yes, this is basically what it's about. Because when you look back again, go back to May, Trump rejected the idea of giving out a stimulus over the summer. And now he's coming out and saying, no, I want $2,000. Where was this fight before? So this really is simply Trump's way of sticking it to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell puts this deal together that works for him. A lot of corporate giveaways in this deal works for him. And then Trump comes out afterwards to say, no, not good enough. And now, because this is actually a good part of this entire conversation, because Nancy Pelosi here is actually calling Trump's bluff. So usually what would happen, and I'm going to do a separate video, I think, on Amy Klobuchar, Senator Amy Klobuchar, who had the most ridiculous response to Trump here. But Nancy Pelosi comes out saying Republicans repeatedly refused to say what amount the president wanted for direct checks. At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent. Let's do it. So here Pelosi is calling his bluff. Now, at the same time, though, I want to be objective. Unanimous consent. There's a reason why she put this in here. This from Jacobin. However, Pelosi's statement of support includes a bit of a hedge. She says she wants to bring it up by unanimous consent, a process that gives any single member of the House the ability to raise an objection and block it. That could let her pretend she tried to force a vote, but was thwarted by a Republican dissenter. But she is House Speaker. There are ways for her to truly force a vote. As the American Prospect's David Dayen notes, Pelosi could, for instance, do it under a separate process of suspending the rules, which would mean that to stop it, 140 Republicans have to buck Trump and deny a cash lump sum payment to the American people. So, if Nancy Pelosi actually wants to fight for this, this is what she would do. Do it under a separate process of suspending the rules, as opposed to doing it through unanimous consent. So, will she? I'm going to say no. So I really do think this is just performance here from Nancy Pelosi. That said, it is at least rhetorically, publicly calling his bluff. Enough people are going to think that Nancy Pelosi really is for this and that Republicans are going to thwart it. And I mean, the reality is, yes, Republicans are against this. So even if Nancy Pelosi was for it, slim chance it would get through with Republicans blocking her. But that said, there are ways to actually get this through. AOC tweeting out here, let's do it. Rashida Tlaib and I already co-wrote the COVID amendment for $2,000 checks, so it's ready to go. Glad to see the president is willing to support our legislation. We can pass $2,000 checks this week if the Senate GOP agrees to stand down. And we all know that is very unlikely to happen. But on the Senate side, Bernie Sanders responds saying, that's great. I first introduced a bill to provide a $2,000 direct payment with Senator Kamala Harris and Ed Markey 7 months ago. Now, Mr. President, get Mitch McConnell and your Republican friends to stop opposing it, and we can provide working class Americans with $2,000. Let's do it. And in terms of the Senate, here's what Schumer can do. He can start demanding unanimous consent to pass the $2,000 check legislation every day the body is in session. A process that would have the added benefit of putting the heat on Georgia incumbent Republican Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue to pick which side they are on. And on that point, you are already seeing, at the very least, John Ossoff come out. He is the Democratic challenger against David Perdue for Georgia. He here tweeting out $2,000 checks now. This, as Ryan Grimm points out, Georgia Senate candidate backs Trump's call for a $2,000 check, puts pressure on Perdue, Loeffler, and McConnell. So the whole reason there was any deal, that Democrats were able to reach any deal at all with Mitch McConnell, was because of this Georgia runoff that's coming up. Mitch McConnell understood that even his voters needed and wanted to see direct payments, and that if they were unable to get that, and that blame was put on them, it would hurt their ability to win those races in Georgia. Well, now, after McConnell thought he had this deal, Trump blows it up, saying that he wants to see $2,000, and you have John Ossoff coming out and supporting that. This puts the pressure on Perdue, Loeffler, and McConnell to actually support this. So, look, it's still early, obviously. I'm not sure if this is going to get done. I'm not sure if this is enough pressure for McConnell to give in, but we're going to see here, because right now, it basically, the way that Democrats are playing this is smart by putting it on McConnell. The way Trump is playing this works for him personally. He doesn't care about the Republican Party, so he's putting this on McConnell as well. I mean, he's pretending that it's about the Democratic Party, which obviously it's not, because they support this. But you're seeing here him put the pressure essentially on McConnell. Is McConnell going to buckle? I don't know. A little more here, though, on just the deal that was made and who it actually supports. Americans are in breadlines, and yet the current omnibus legislation skimps on direct aid to millions of people while offering billions of dollars worth of tax breaks for racehorse owners, landlords, NASCAR, and corporate executives' 3 martini lunches. The current bill spends only $166 billion on survival checks while devoting $200 billion to new tax breaks for the rich. It exempts business expenses under the Paycheck Protection Program from taxes while taxing workers' jobless benefits and ending a paid coronavirus sick leave mandate. And by the way, I just stopped there. There's more. I'm going to, as always, I link to all these sources below the video. You can read through this Jackman piece if you click on the link under sources in the description box. But I mean, there's money for Trump's Space Force. There's money for the border wall construction. So, yeah, you see where the actual focus is in the bill. Now, whether Trump is serious or not, whether he actually wants to see $2,000 or not, what Trump cares about is how he's perceived here. And to most people who are not paying attention, this makes Trump look good. Because most people completely forgot that Trump opposed direct payments over the summer. And they just see what he's saying now. Oh, Trump wants to see these checks, and he's being blocked by Democrats and Republicans. So regardless of how this looks on Trump, look, the election's over. So I don't care if people think Trump wants to give them money. It doesn't matter. What matters is, are people going to be able to get the money? People need this money. It should be $2,000. And the only thing that's actually blocking that right now is Mitch McConnell. So, and to be fair, Nancy Pelosi's idea of unanimous consent, when she should be pushing to simply have or she should be pushing to put this on Republicans through what David Dayen lays out here. So, I don't know. Based on what Pelosi is saying here, and based on Mitch McConnell, I'm inclined to say this is not going to happen. That said, understand who was standing with you the entire time. Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, AOC, Rashida Tlaib. These are people that have been fighting for these larger direct payments, and the only people that have been blocking them are Democratic leadership, Mitch McConnell, the entire GOP, and Donald Trump.